this leads us to some of the things that we found. So our approach to buildings here was, we went and spoke with several companies and we asked them, you know it's an old industry, and we don't want to lead by building something and trying to sell it to you. We want to find out where your problems are, what's keeping you awake at night. And the first thing that came out, like a lot of you mentioned, is materials. Material was something they said they just don't have a good grip on. Most of the time, what happens is the material management gets relegated to the ERP systems, which is great at procurement level. They do the MOQ upload into that, and then they keep ordering according to that. But what it doesn't do, like what Donald you were mentioning, like if this dish was supposed to take 3 cauliflowers, and if it took 3.5, where the half went? And that is a question most of them cannot answer very well. Whether it went into a change request, whether it went into a new request, or a error, and it was a problem of the contractor, it was the problem of the owner, or whether it was lost in some other things, like it did not get delivered really, or something like that. And that variance analysis and learning from that and applying it to the next project, that's something massively lacking. So we said, okay, we will try to solve this, right? So let me put up on the screen the different modules in Steer that has evolved out of that same need. So we started with the material, and we realized that they need to understand, they need to have that deep insight on material. But then we started realizing that material on its own can only do so much. We have to track it back and connect it to other things, like every time there is a deliverable, what's going on into it, right? So we started trying to look at it, and we realized that quality and inspection and other creates a lot of, like, if you have a punch list and there's a lot of things to do, that consumes material. How do you relate that? Whose problem was that? Or from the design side, like Sri mentioned, like you know if you don't look at the proper design document, if you don't have something on site which when you're looking at, and if you have a question, you can get an answer to it from the engineers or the architects, it can lead to so many waste of material. Or even the other part of waste is the labor. And if you don't maintain your equipment, something breaks down, that can lead to a waste of materials and labor and everything, right? And all of this needs to connect to the visibility, like you are mentioning. So at this stage 3, we have not touched on the BIM side. It's in the, so when you look at the ISO standards of BIM, the 2D BIM is the BIM level 1. So we are more or less there. We have a design document management system which allows the customers to see various design drawings on real time. They can raise questions, or if there's a new version, that automatically gets echoed across the site, and the head office and everywhere. And we are in the process of now building the 3D BIM built into it. But what's interesting also is we have built-in workflows which you can trigger right from the design drawings, for clarification, for change request, for anything. And it can have that approval flow, like Hansen was saying. If someone asks for a change, and if I can do a proper tracking, and it gets the right approval from the owner's side, from the engineer's side, so at least it has a clear attribution who's doing it. And the others are like standard stuff, like having a proper visibility on the schedule. And lastly, which a lot of time gets a lot of attention because it looks nice to the management team, is the dashboard. A BI dashboard that allows you to drill deep into it. So out of this, what are the ones that catches your attention, and if you would suggest uh, any other things that we are missing out?
So I would start with work plan. uh, design plan, that interest. I mean, site materials, quality and safety, design management, and then I mean, labor and equipment. Of course, is actually it's all, to be honest. Otherwise, it does not get integrated. Seem
Yeah,
over. It's about the ecosystem again. The ecosystem
correct.
gets completed only if you include everything. So I would say only thing is that the significance would differ from contractor for a contractor
To the
than
owner.
from a client from for the owner. So when I started with work plan, I started from the owner's perspective, because we engineers often work with the owners, and then only in the EPC environment we work with the contractors. So there, the design plan is also important, and then site materials becomes a bigger problem for the contractor. Quality and safety for both owner as well as contractor, because in the end it's the owner who is responsible. And design management, again, it gets triggered from the owner and to the contractor. So that's the thing. So this is it. I mean, I would just say that for going digital now, if we take it, because now we are at the digital side of it, and these elements need to be integrated on a digital platform. It is very, very important that client has to be sensitized first, because it is the owner which has to say that you have to include this, or you have to follow these procedures or these tools, and then the contractor has no option but to follow. Whereas a contractor can use them to benefit, in terms of savings in material wastage, in terms of triggering the changes in design, and also the real time, if I may say so, for the site adaptation, because site suitability is also very important for material design and other aspects. So that's where how I can relate these things to the two sides of the table.
Thank you, Hanson. Out of this, so I mean, just to mention the way we built it, most of them can actually be started modular. It doesn't have to be all or nothing approach, not like that. So, from your point of view, which ones comes out to be the most valuable as such?
Um, so if there are two angles where I see this. If it was the me when I started the startup at day zero, I would see I would assume that it's gonna be labor and equipment because you're trying to understand everything, how things work, how life works, how construction is so different to how customers see it because uh, we've been living a life as like a customer, like we go to the supermarket, we go to places, we don't see how things are done in a contractor's perspective. So that is if the company is at day zero or my personal experience is at day zero. But now spending time and having good experience in construction, I would say that it would be design plan, because if you have good design plan together with your client coordinated at the same time, and they fully understand where things are going, it's more streamlined to have to list those goals, and it's more streamlined and you're able to streamline it with your workers. So I would say if there's a good design plan, the others just fall down into place.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Donald, I know you come from a very different perspective. Does any of this make sense to you if you were to manage some projects today?
Well, if I had to manage some project, I'd find somebody else to do it for me because I wouldn't trust myself to do it. Um, uh, but the one that is just leaps out at me is having a dashboard that is accurate. Um, the one thing we all hate in management is surprises. Right?
Yeah,
Problems are fine. Problems come along.
Yeah.
Surprises coming out of the woodwork is just horrible. And so the dashboard is important for that. It's also important because, I mean, construction is the end for a contractor, but it's the beginning for the operator. And in building a restaurant, an hotel, a shop, whatever, um, you've got to know then when can you hire the staff? When can they get access to the building? When can they bring in their supplies? And I mean that's a fraught issue. I mean, I've been across this for the last 35, 40 years of of these problems and fighting with contractors. But you said you'd be finished on Tuesday. My van's here with all the glasses, and I've nowhere to put them. This would take away that and allow you to manage against reality, not against what you hope will be the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, like you mentioned in the beginning, right? So even if you're away in another country, you would want to see data, and you want to see what's going on, something you can trust, and that gives a lot of comfort and a lot
Oh,
of cooperation, I guess, isn't it?
100%. I've sat in a call in the UK and had my boss in another part of the country saying, When's the restaurant in Australia going to open?" Well, I
Yeah.
spoke to the guys a couple of days ago, and they're hoping it's going to be. That you wouldn't even need to ask me the question, because there'd be a summary part of the dashboard that would tell you that.